So for today's agenda, we're just going to go over a little bit about what robocalling is, how we can stop these robocalls, and some industry countermeasures that have already been applied. Then we're going to be going over our application, which is a voice CAPTCHA powered by Relay. And then Brett is going to be doing a live demo and a code deep dive. And then we'll be posting all the links to this presentation, the survey, and do a Q&A session. So first of all, I just wanted to reach out to you all and let you know that I've been trying to reach you guys about your car's extended warranty, and just nobody's been calling me back. So of course, I'm kidding. We've all been plagued by robocalling, so I don't think I need to explain too much what it is, but just the basic official definition is an automated call. It's the practice of making automated calls to deliver pre-recorded messages. They're not illegal in themselves, but they are mostly used by debt collectors, political agencies, and scammers of various types. Of course, we do have above ground robocalling as well for things like appointment reminders from your dentist, for your COVID testing sites, for a restaurant, etc. But of course, these spammers give robocalling a bad name. It is heavily regulated in the United States as well as worldwide. Governments have been trying for years to get robocalls under control, and they have been struggling. And of course, this does exclude mostly political messaging. So I know during those election years, we're always getting those survey calls. And of course, as we all know, these calls can be incredibly irritating. It seems no matter how many times we block unknown numbers, these calls keep seeping through as our phone number keeps getting sold and sold to more scammers and more people. But not only are they annoying, they're also dangerous because of that risk of fraud. Some of these robocalls are a lot more clever than you would think. Of course, there are the ones that are very obviously scams, but a lot of people actually do fall victim to these scams. Back in 2016, 5 years ago, people in the United States of America were actually scammed out of more than $350 million by over 29 billion robocalls. So that is a very big deal. In 2020, last year, there were 46 billion robocalls placed in the United States. That is 140 calls per every single US inhabitant in 1 year. And that number is only rising as these call centers start opening back up after the COVID pandemic. And according to research, 44% of all robocalls are spam or fraud. Again, that may not seem like a big deal for those of us who are in the telecom industry. We know how to spot these scams, but a lot of people don't. Sometimes these robocalls can be very convincing and can be dangerous, as well as just very annoying. So how do we stop these bots? There have, like I've been mentioning, been a big effort on the United States government as well as worldwide governments to stop these robocalls. There's been legislation passed. They've been going after big known spammers, like big known call centers that are performing these spam calls, but really there hasn't been much of an improvement, as I'm sure we all know. So for us, we want to take a step back and make the distinction between verifying a call or stopping them. So call verification is achieved through standards like STIR/SHAKEN, if you've heard of that, that prevent caller ID spoofing, which is where these scammers will actually fake their caller ID. And if they know your phone number, they'll have an area code that's the same or similar. So it tricks you into thinking the call is from someone you know. And then once you pick that phone call up, they know that you're a real person and they can sell your phone number from there. So that's a really big deal. And STIR/SHAKEN has recently become required by the government, by carriers, to help prevent that caller ID spoofing. But stopping calls is done via a whitelist, blacklist, and by testing whether or not the caller is a human via a CAPTCHA. So of course, we're used to CAPTCHAs being like, choose which of these images have a bus in them, which can sometimes be frustrating because I'm like, well, Does this count as a bus? It's more of a van, but that's just a personal problem I think I have. But of course, we can't do a visual CAPTCHA over the phone when we're trying to determine whether or not someone's a real person. So thinking about it, we just need to start using voice. So one of the things we can do is ask the caller a question to verify whether or not they're a person or a robot. And asking just for them to press a digit on their phone isn't enough, because scammers can easily work around that, build an application that can work around that. So one of the solutions we at SignalWire came up with was to ask them for the sum of two numbers, a very simple math question to prove whether or not it's a human. So we actually built our own application that we're going to teach you guys how to make. And I'm going to hand this presentation over to Brett, and he's going to explain to you how our application works.
Thanks, Abby. So in essence, how this application is going to operate is when a call comes into us, the application will first detect whether or not this caller coming in has already called before. Because if that is the case, they are either one or two things. It's kind of the Schrodinger's cat scenario. They're either a robot or they're not. If they are a robot, the phone call immediately hangs up. If they are not, and they've already called, it's going to direct them straight into the IVR system or wherever else that call is routed at the end of the application. If they have never called before, this is where the fun is, because they have to answer a very, very basic addition problem, which is just essentially, 10 plus 9, 8 plus 3. They have 2 attempts at this math problem, and if they are correct, they get passed on. If not, they have to deal with our best friend Lenny. A little fun fact about Lenny is nothing more than just a set of pre-recorded audio files that it's just a waste of the caller's time. Stuff like, hello, are you there? I can't hear you. Say what now? Are you my grandchild? So just a whole bunch of random things designed for the sole purpose of wasting people's time, which I just kind of find a little funny because the irony is very blatant there. At any point after they succeed, if the person on the end user end who is talking to the customer believes that this is still spam or fraud or scam or whatever the case may be, the caller at any given time, or the callee, can actually hit pound twice to end the call and flag the call as a spammer, kind of, I guess, ex post facto in a sense, where they can then get retroactively added into that blacklist for the next time. Moving right along here, let's talk a little bit about SignalWire's communication APIs, powered by our own proprietary Relay. Relay is our innovative communications control protocol and operates over what we like to call a standards-based WebSocket connection. What this enables us to do is have persistent and asynchronous connections, which allow you to manipulate calls in real time. If you attended our LiveWire a few weeks ago, I kind of touched base on this. One of the really big, powerful parts about our APIs is the ability to stack multiple applications on each other and provide a wide variety of different functions at the same time on the same call. This is done through a variety of different ways: speech recognition, answering machine detection, media manipulation, text-to-speech, messaging features. All of this is really kind of going into what SignalWire wants to do in the future, which is truly innovate and have complete control for how calls take place in our modern work era. So integrating Relay with your infrastructure itself is super easy, because Relay ultimately runs its own processes and only requires an outbound connection to SignalWire. So like I said, the fact that it only requires an outbound connection to SignalWire ultimately means it is super easy to implement. In preparation, after the code was all said and done and written, it maybe took me every bit of 30 to 45 seconds to get this app up and running and connected to a SignalWire phone number. It communicates with all your other applications via tasks, HTTP, any other mechanism you can think of to do it. SignalWire's communication APIs can really just do it all. And it is really ideal because of all these features for adding advanced telecommunication features to your pre-existing infrastructure, no matter what that may be. But you know, we're hyping it up a lot, so I think it's time for a fun little demo. Let's go into a code little demo here. So bear with me because I am testing out a new application here. Not the application like the CAPTCHA, but something really, really cool that I want to try. We're going to load it up. Boom. So you guys can actually see my personal cell phone on the screen in real time here. Let me expand that out just so we can kind of get an idea. I'm going to go ahead and call a phone number. And in my SignalWire space, I have this phone number set up. So 206-844-330. And what we're going to do real quick is we are going to give it a call and see what it does.
Hello. To complete your call, please verify you are human by dialing or speaking the answer to this simple question, powered by SignalWire. What is 6 plus 6?
15.
That is wrong. You are probably a robot. That's okay. I'm a robot too. I will give you one more try. What is 8 plus 2?
9.
I didn't quite catch that. What is 10 plus 5?
45. Hi, is this BB&T? Hi, BB&T. I'm calling to get a customer's random bank account information. I have his social security number and everything. Just ignore the fact that my phone number is different and all my account information is a little bit different. Lenny, are you there? Can you hear me? I'm sorry? Screw this. I'm going to go scam someone else. So in essence, sorry if the Lenny thing was a little bit quiet. Still working on the audio routing feature of that. But in essence, and if you want to give it a shot, I can happily post the phone number in here at the end of the demo if you guys would like to try it on your own. But what you essentially heard was me calling in, a little intro, greeting the caller, and then it asks you a very basic addition problem. Like I said, I intentionally got it wrong twice to show you what happens as far as the integration into Lenny. It is important to note, I will say, that we do use node persist in this application. If you want to see the full code, feel free to take a look at our application write-up on GitHub. At the end, I will also happily post a link to that as well. But we use node persist, which essentially enables that whitelist, blacklist option. So if I had called and then registered myself as a non-robot, it would have then saved my phone number and know for the future that I am a legitimate customer. But it's kind of more fun to do the incorrect thing first. That being said, I did want to quickly point out a few things on the application end. So what I am going to do is try and zoom in because I know that I have really, really tiny font here, and I apologize in advance. So we're gonna zoom in so everyone else can see it, and we're gonna go straight to this part. So now this is really kind of the meat of the code application itself. This is the CAPTCHA loop that essentially implements that voice CAPTCHA and asks the caller for a result of a simple sum. So it loops around, enables a denoiser, collects a few parameters based both off of DTMF and voice recognition, and then randomizes two numbers that you then have to calculate the sum of. If it is correct, then it detects the human and assigns it. If it is incorrect, it assigns you as a scammer. Again, this is a loop, meaning if that you give the incorrect answer, it gives you one more attempt and then either decides you are either a human or a robot, or I guess just somebody that's really, really bad at basic addition. After that, we'll go kind of into the in-call detection part of this. Let me just skip right on over to that. So what you see here is essentially the part of the application that uses a relay to detect if the two asterisks, I never know what to call those things, but the 2 pound buttons are hit identically. If it is, it automatically flags the caller as somebody that the callee does not want to speak to, and just kind of gives them the middle finger, tells them they suck, be on their merry way. After everything, you can also see back here, where is it? Boop, boop. The voice mechanisms we use here. Hello, to complete your call, please verify you are a human by dialing or speaking the answer to this simple question. If you get it right or get it wrong, all those are pretty much prescribed. You can change this text to pretty much say whatever verbiage you would prefer. That being said, here's all the pre-recorded responses for Lenny. Possibly, you have 3 randomized attention getters that it could get at any given moment. Essentially, how Lenny greets it can be different every time. And then, about another 12 or 13 or so different responses, which it will just loop through to do nothing more than waste the caller's time. The important thing to note here is you do need a SignalWire account, SignalWire space, SignalWire project, and your API token. I always recommend keeping these tokens kind of close to the chest because just like any other key out there, house key, car key, anything like that, it is your security protocol. So keep those under wrap, lock and key, pun intended. And I will be recycling mine at the end of this, so that will go out into the ether. Once you have a SignalWire context set up that you can then receive from your SignalWire space, you can then go straight into your SignalWire space and set up a phone number to respond based off that same CAPTCHA context, which I very conveniently named as CAPTCHA. But in essence, that is how this code operates as a whole. Now, you might have noticed a lot of different features being used in this application. Everything from inbound and outbound, PSTN integration, text-to-speech and speech recognition, DTMF, which I touched on, integration of an external service like Lenny, and Node Persist to store data. And again, all this is really possible through the power of SignalWire's communication. And I mentioned that all this is already on GitHub, which is already there ready for you. And I will post a link directly to this application where all you have to do is code that or copy that repo and adjust the information to yourself and let it rip and ride. Beyond that, we would love to, for you guys to ask any questions that you might have on our end. Kevin, did I see you had a question?
Yes. So hi guys, I'm calling from Canada. So our telcos, specifically like TELUS, which is a larger player, has already implemented CAPTCHA on, let's say, the cellular calls. The question I have is, can you guys offer this on all your numbers rather than having a platform or an application? Can this be standardized into your regular system? Because this is incredibly important. And what I've been finding is that SignalWire numbers specifically have been used in the past by scammers. So of the 5 DID numbers that I own in my account, one of them that I have to use a toll free is listed on a scam website. So that makes it really, really challenging because I get constant email calls from scammers or from other people calling the scammers. So if this was a system that could be inbuilt rather than have an API that does this verification, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah. So on the back end, any company can integrate this into their own. However, SignalWire does not currently have any anti-robot, I guess, language permitted inside of it, but support does have their own motions put in place to try and mitigate that. Brian?
We do. Now, we as SignalWire open source the only stir-shaken stack that is open source on our website. We are in the process of making sure that's all taken care of. What you talk about is a couple things. Like, you as an end user can do what we're doing with the CAPTCHA completely within the API. This is completely within what you can do. We should probably, if we haven't yet, probably share how we did that. So give some people some examples of what to do. These robocalls are not an easy thing to solve. And I like to think that we probably caused a lot of this releasing free switch open source, but we probably have corrected a lot of it as a result of what we've released. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like one, six in one hand, half a dozen in the other at this point. So, but we're working on it.
On to another question. I see Lee has a question in the chat. Recommended VPS to run this. I don't have one, honestly, off the top of my head that I would choose to recommend. What I'm using to run it right now is just simply Docker. However, any
cloud provider will work.
Any cloud provider, any personal server you want to use yourself, it is all up to you on that. I just don't necessarily have one I recommend, whichever you would prefer.
Would Heroku work? Because it looks very simple. It doesn't look very heavy. You can run it.
I actually have people within the support team using that right now for some fleshing out some things we're working on. So
the Heroku I find is very quick. Yeah.
They're using that for quick prototyping right now.
Yeah.
All righty. Any other questions? We love to hear them.
Unless they're too difficult, then no.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry about that, Lee. As far as VPSs are concerned, it is entirely 100% what you are comfortable with. What I'm using to run the application right now is just a simple Docker container. But whatever you want to use, we are completely compatible with any cloud-based server out there. And Heroku will do it as well. We use it internally for ourselves.
Yep.
No worries. Thank you for asking, Lee. If there are no other questions, we will see you guys in the near future here. If you do have any other suggestions, feel free to let us know at any time. Continue to fill out that survey so we do know. And yeah, Abby?
That's all for me. Thank you all. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, like Brett said. Thanks, everyone.
All right. We will see you all later.